So what I'm going to share with you is, this is my 45th year at NYU. For 15 years, I chaired a department of all education at NYU, math, science, social studies, special ed, early childhood, 1,500 students, 67 faculty, and I don't have an answer for you. But so what I'm going to share with you is experience. I've worked a lot in schools. That's where I do most of my research. I work and train principals. And you'll see the conclusion I have is that universities alone cannot prepare a teacher, and schools alone cannot prepare a teacher. And unless the two weave a relationship, not a partnership, a seamless relationship, I'm worried about the future of teacher education. So let me just give you two stories. Quick question. I promise I'm going to be very, very quick. Story number one, which I got today in the email. New York City is under court order to reduce class size. For the fall of 2025, we need 3,500 new teachers. For 2027, New York City needs 14,800 new teachers. I have no idea where they're going to get them. I'm worried about how they're going to train them. Oklahoma, state in New York, 2 months ago, is giving $20,000 to any teacher who has special education to come to the state and teach and stay for at least 2 years. Story number two, which I got this morning, and it's research I've been involved in. Children with disabilities have been suspended in the New York City schools without following certain procedures. That happens, it's the truth. I'll send the article. A lot of kids. So we train teachers how to do behavioral intervention. They go to the school, and the school violates law and procedure and policy. Last story. And it's a challenge, I think, to you as it is to, I think, the world. Who's going to educate the school system regarding AI? You can't ignore it. Is it a university responsibility? Is it a school responsibility? My experience, you both better do it together. And there are issues of ethics, morality, plagiarism. The technology is easy. Who's going to do the training? Now, so what I'm going to show you, and it's going to be very, very quick, is based on not just my years at NYU in teacher education. I am a certified teacher in the state of New York. My background is working with kids with very, very, very severe disabilities. I started out as an assistant teacher, toilet training, feeding, all those wonderful things. I became a teacher. I directed a program. I then worked in a research center in curriculum development, and then I went to the university to do teacher education. Okay, and this is what my professor, I was working in a project, and I get a call one day from my professor, and he says, there's an opening, 1980, there's an opening at New York University. I said, but I have a job. I have my PhD. I'm working with kids. And these are his exact words. He said, grow up. His exact words. I hear it. I said, Dr. Goldstein, what? He says, you can stay and work with 10 kids and maybe affect their lives, or become a teacher educator and affect the lives of hopefully thousands of kids, or at least 10 teachers. I firmly believe in teacher education. We are the only profession that deals with the future. Early childhood is the message to the future. Education is the message to the future. We are the only profession that has that responsibility of preparing for the future. And I think we've screwed it up. Okay? You may not like everything I say, but I'm telling you what I believe. I think the heart and soul of an educational system is educating all its kids. I don't believe in separate systems, special ed, general ed, but one educational system. I believe there's diversity. I believe kids are different, but you don't teach to a label, you teach to a human being. You teach a kid, but you need the resources. Two major reasons teachers are leaving the profession: It's not just salaries. Number two, work conditions. I have nothing as a faculty member to do with the work conditions. Happens in a school. Okay? So please just ask, you'll ask questions later. Let's start with can you go to number one? I'm sorry. Okay. I just made a list. Teacher education is not just the training of teachers. Oh, I'm sorry. What is an effective teacher? What principal doesn't want an effective teacher? But what is an effective teacher? Is it someone who just knows the content? Is it someone that the kids like? What is an effective? I'm doing quickly, I'm sorry. What is a qualified teacher? And who sets those qualifications? In New York, the State Department of Education, like your ministry, says in order to be a teacher, you need to do boom, 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 boom. We're not required to do parent education. We don't do enough psychosocial development. We don't work on empathy, and unless a faculty member wants to build it into their course. How long should student teaching be? How long should you be out in the field? New York State says at least 100 hours before you go training, and then at least 2 days a week full-time in a classroom. Is that enough to be a teacher? And in my area, special ed, there are 13 disability categories. 13. Blind, deaf, autism. How does the teacher get experience with everybody? And then they graduate certified. Look at number 3. Filling high need areas. We don't have enough math teachers. We don't have enough science teachers. We have English and social studies. We're pretty good. Biggest need in the United States, special education. Okay, how do you fill the area? Recruitment. How do you get teachers? How do you recruit them? I'm leaving it as a question because I don't know. I tried for 15 years as the chair. How do you recruit teachers into the field? How do you keep the good teachers? How do you keep a teacher happy? I know, I lived in a school, I worked in a school, and you know what made me happy? That there was a teacher's room that had coffee. Remember, I'm old, so giving a cup of coffee made us very, very happy. But I'll tell you something that concerns me to this day. I go into schools and teachers don't have enough time to plan. They don't have enough time to talk to each other. They don't have enough time to say, I'm tired. Teachers are under such significant pressure to produce. And they never have a time to sit back and say, I need a rest. Helping teachers become better teachers. That's an important, when I wrote that down, better teachers should not be under a punitive model. You did something wrong. It should be intrinsic that you want to become a better teacher. And I think part of that is our responsibility in teacher preparation. We need to prepare teachers to be lifelong learners. And then when they go to a school, that gets reinforced. I think teachers should have reading groups. I think teachers should present case studies. I think teachers should, I get my students to write articles. I think teachers should write articles and affect what the field, where it's going. And number 7, evaluation. What criteria are used to evaluate a teacher? Is it how the kids perform on a test? How about if I say, I think an important part of teacher evaluation, are the kids happy? You want to talk to the kids. Talk to the parents. But teachers are under they're under the microscope. What criteria do we use in order to evaluate teachers? Okay, so this is quick, but it's all part of teacher preparation. Teacher preparation is not an episodic event. And we change as we get older. We need different things. I'm worried about the future of, when I speak to faculty, some of us older faculty, not me, because I love the AI, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. But there are faculty who don't want to do it. One quick story. I know you're videotaping, which makes me nervous. But when I was chair, I had faculty who were tenured, PhD, and I wouldn't want them anywhere near a kid. They just were not good going into classrooms. So I hired other people to go into classrooms. I hired teachers to go into classrooms. We need to look at who we are as faculty, who we are as future teachers. Are we willing to accept change? The world is changing. Are we willing to go along with that change? Okay, next, please. Okay. I put together this list based on my experience out in the field being in schools. Schools are looking for people with the ability to identify, organize, plan, allocate resources, to live, work with others, to acquire and evaluate information, to understand how various parts of a system come together. I'm not sure we prepare our teachers to go into schools, but this is what the schools are looking for. We prepare our teachers to teach reading, math, science, social studies, how to work with kids with disabilities. And I'm not sure we do a very good job. But this is what the schools are looking for. Next slide, please. Okay, some of the most common skills, behaviors, principles are looking for from their teachers. So when I speak to teachers, and when we do research in the school and you speak to a principal, I'm sure I have, but very few principals say to me, I want a teacher who knows how to teach reading. They can hire that. I want someone with a strong work ethic, positive attitude, knows how to time manage, knows how to work under pressure, is a team player, is self-confident. We don't do this. And we do student teaching. And we're pretty good at student teaching, and we're pretty good at teaching the methods courses. But that's not what the schools are looking for. Then who's going to teach the kids? And that's why I think the schools must pick up this piece. I think it must be woven together. I think the big mistake we make in teacher education, we say the universities do this, and the schools, they don't define what the schools are supposed to, they don't define what the schools are supposed to do. The schools need to pick up a good part of this, and I think some of it needs to be woven in to student teaching. Next, please. All right. So when I was trained as a teacher in 1972, we sat down with principals, superintendents, faculty, and parents, and we made a list of what is a teacher. And I've used this list in the department, and I use it just to explain a teacher. Look at the list. This is a teacher. So when I say that kids were being suspended in schools, we teach teachers how to do behavior plans, but we don't teach them how to be an advocate and stand up for the rights of kids. If a kid is not being treated appropriately, is that teacher strong enough? And will the school allow? I have my student teachers in the field, and they tell me they're scared to speak up. Because they're student teachers. They're scared to speak up. I have teachers who tell me, we know they're doing something wrong, but I'm not tenured yet. So if you're not tenured, has nothing to do with me. That's school climate. That's school atmosphere. That's put together by principal and administration. Okay, next, please. Look at this. Teacher is an advocate. Teacher is a disseminator. Teacher is a problem solver. Teacher is public relations specialist. Teacher is a professional. Wow. Teacher education is not unidimensional. It's not just how do you teach a subject. I love those last questions, motivation. I can teach you how to do motivation reinforcement, but to what end? If you're not allowed to practice your profession. Okay, almost done. Next slide, please. Okay, teachers need, and we need to develop in our future teachers, transferable skills. Communication, making decisions, showing commitment, flexibility, time management, curiosity, creativity, being a team player, being able to work. That's what I think has to be incorporated into teacher ed programs. And I think the excitement of the discussion is how the university and the school work together to work on these things. I don't teach any of my students, remember, I've been doing it for 45 years, how to do time management. I teach teachers how to write a lesson plan, but if they go to the school and there's no time to write it, when do they write their lesson plans? If you have co-teaching, right? Two teachers working together, when do they plan? When do they individualize? When do they collect data? I teach them how to collect data. When do they collect data in the school? When do they sit down and interpret that data? And when do they turn that data into lesson plans? Okay, next please. Teachers need the ability to solve new problems and think critically, strong interpersonal skills, creativity, intellectual flexibility, self-sufficient. I mean, this is not the traditional list of stuff, but I think this is what's missing from teacher education. This discussion of what it is, who it is that makes an effective teacher. And I think one more slide, please. Okay? This is my message to you after all these years. There needs to be a seamless relationship between the university and the school. By the way, I went to your website at the University of Romania, at the Ministry of Education, to look at what are the credentials, what are the requirements to be a teacher. They're as good as ours. They're almost identical. But it doesn't address this. It doesn't address that there has to be a professional that can do more than just write a lesson plan. It's somebody who has to become part of the school community. It's someone who has to understand strengths, weaknesses to kids, to schools. Teachers have to be able to work with parents. And let me end by saying, because this is certainly, it's my field, it's my research, my area. A teacher cannot leave a program and look at a label. They must look at a kid who's capable of growth and development. And their job is to ensure that this kid learns. If they leave a university or any program saying, this kid is special ed, this kid is autistic, this kid is, they've just placed a ceiling on that kid, and they've placed a ceiling on themselves because they're saying that's all this kid can do. So I'm passionate about this. I live it. I study it. I've gone into a lot of classrooms. The key to a good teacher is acquiring a body of knowledge before you get into the field. And then when you get into the field, the school assumes continued education of that kid. If you don't do it, you're going to get this type of a model. And schools and universities won't talk. I'm done. I mean, I can go on for 2 more years, but this was just what you get. You know, there'll be a lot of research supporting a lot of this stuff. I'm worried. What scares me now most is AI. Because who's going to assume the responsibility? Who's going to ensure that it's provided? I think kids need to learn ethics, morale, and what's right, what's wrong. Plagiarism is wrong. When are you going to start teaching it? What a great discussion. Nothing wrong with ChatGPT. It's how you use it. And then you don't. But when does the discussion start? And I think the university has a responsibility, and I think the school has a responsibility. And I'm going to end with this piece because I met with parents today. Somebody has to sit down with the parents and talk to the parents about AI. Who's going to do that? It's not going to be trust me, it's not going to be us. It's going to be school. School needs policy. School needs to get everybody on board. There needs to be a consistent and coherent message to families that the most important thing about a school is the education of a kid, and all kids can learn. I'm done. It's great being here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Before you go, Mark, I have a question. Am o întrebare pentru Mark acum înainte să predea microfonul altcuiva și anume știu că de 20 de ani vizitezi România și dacă se poate să ne spui ce progrese ai observat în tot acest timp din perspectiva educației și a școlilor pe care le-ai vizitat.
I actually can. Okay? Shut off the video. No. One of the reasons to come back is I met Carmen in 1996 in Hungary and then in St. Petersburg, and with Step by Step. It was a dream, and Carmen had a dream. About 8 years ago, Carmen is in New York, and she says, can we go for a cup of coffee? I said, sure. We go for a cup of coffee, and Carmen said to me, now we're ready. Well, now I'm ready to work with you. So I met her in 1996. Come to Romania. One of the reasons I came to Romania is that my parents come from Romania. My mother is Hatin in Bukovina, Bessarabia. So I felt like I'm coming home. Okay? And I love eggplant. So thank you. It feels good. It feels good. So I'm gonna tell you what Amy, my wife and I, we have eight grandchildren. We would put our grandkids in step by step. What better thing? We've watched it grow. And I'm going to tell you a secret. I don't speak Romanian. I don't understand it. Kids are happy. Kids are smiling. Kids are running all over the place in an orderly manner. The girls beat up the boys, but so the growth that I've seen has been sustaining a model, sustaining a commitment to educating your kids, psychosocial development. They're learning to read, math. That's all the easy stuff. Believe me, it's easy. The hard part, psychosocial. The hard part is self-esteem. The hard part is getting the kids to be self-reflective. The hard part is getting these kids to respect others. And that's what I see at the program. Now, we did visit, because when we would go to step by step, we pass a school, a public school on the right that says special school. So last year we asked, could we visit the special school? I gotta tell you, it was great. It was neat, it was happy. Do I like it? No. I don't think any group of kids should be segregated. Because when you segregate, you treat people differently. By the way, I'm not using the word inclusion. To me, inclusion is a concept, it's an idea. But I believe there's no kid who can't be in general ed. One school system. Certain kids need small classes. Certain kids need physical therapy, occupational therapy. Certain kids do it in the general ed system. Why pull groups out? Because when you separate, you identify, you create a stigma. You isolate. And we build, let me say this. We build systems to reinforce a predetermined output. If you believe kids can't learn, you build a system that reinforces. So look at special ed. There's only one category. We have 13 categories of disabilities. There's only one category that has the word learning in it, learning disability. We build schools not to include kids, but to keep kids out. I have bad knees, and that's why I apologize, I'm leaning. I have difficulty walking up steps. Let's say I was in a wheelchair. How do I get up here? How do I go to the bathroom? Steps all over the place. Your restaurants, there's a step. They get in. When you believe that certain people should not take part, you create a system. Why do we even have special ed teachers? I'm going to tell you a secret, and then I'm going to stop. I think to be a master teacher, to be an effective teacher, you need to know how to do special ed. Special education is an instructional strategy. Special ed is not a label. Special ed is not a placement. It's an instructional strategy. I think all teachers ought to learn differentiation, task analysis. All teachers. But what we do is we set up a system that reinforces separate ways of looking at people. That scares me. Scares me. I think we need to bring systems together. I think we have to be able to look at all kids as capable of human growth and development. Not all kids are going to learn the same. They won't. Not all kids will read the same amount. And you know something? That's okay. You don't need homogeneity. You don't need everybody doing the same thing. We need to allow for differences. And that's how I think we need to educate our teachers. That our teachers don't see a label, but our teachers see potential. We need to convince our teachers, and your words earlier were so important. It's the future, and it is national defense. because in the United States, we had a guest here, and he said that early childhood education is a national defense issue. In the United States, 74% of the kids who applied to the armed forces, 74% were rejected for 3 reasons: obesity, functionally illiterate, or a criminal record. All that is tied to education. So, needs to be a commitment. And I think the education of a teacher needs to be broad. And I also think you need to increase salaries. I think it's so hard to be a teacher.
Vreau doar să vă spun că după conferința despre care tocmai a vorbit domnul profesor Alter, în care un amiral din Armata Statelor Unite a venit și a spus ce tocmai v-a spus și cum a devenit educația timpurie o chestiune de apărare națională în Statele Unite, să știți că și la noi, în anul următor, a intrat în Strategia Națională de Apărare a Țării. Deci educația timpurie în acest moment este în Strategia Națională de Apărare a Țării și sperăm că toată educația o să devină parte a Strategiei Naționale de Apărare a Țării. Mulțumesc!